Hey everybody, I am on for the midweek message Wednesday, October 2nd. Welcome to a big solar eclipse that we had today earlier. Let's see, it was like 11:45 Eastern-ish. And we also are ushering in the new moon in Libra. And this energy comes through in Libra season as well, wanting to even the scales, the justice of the astrology, right? The mediator. And I think if we look at world events and we look at the things that have happened just in the last week, especially within the last couple days, the purge energy is huge as far as moving things out and moving things unexplainably in a way that is so quick and fast, in a way that you may not have even conceived of. Things that seem so immobile have literally been flung. Things that seemed at an impasse have somehow opened up. People who seemed like they were going to be in one spot forever have transitioned and switched in many different ways, literally and figuratively. Relationships and friendships and situationships, the dynamics are shifting and changing. People's level of emotional buy-in and ability to connect or disconnect is very much on the forefront. You likely are experiencing this, at least in one, if not many, of your interactions and relationships with others. It's big. And the opportunity is big. Because it's asking you to let some stuff go. It's asking you to admit where you were wrong. It's asking for you to stand up and say, okay, I fucked up. Or, okay, I copped to this. Or, you know what, I could have been a little clearer. Or maybe I wasn't being fully open or forthright. And I've contributed to some of the disillusion, or I contributed to some of the stress or strain or confusion. And you have an opportunity to clean that up. You have an opportunity to address it. You also have an opportunity to put your money where your mouth is and walk your talk. Because there's a lot of situations where we are speaking out of both sides of our mouths, or you're hearing people speak out of both sides of their mouth. And in a lot of situations, there's a requirement that you're going to have to pick a side, pick an avenue, pick a path. And it's not all black and white, though, is what I'd like to put out there. That the grayscale on things is pretty huge. It's just, what hue do you want to go to? Do you want to go to the darkest charcoal, dark gray? Do you need to go into that space of negativity? Can you tune it up to that, off-white, that eggshell, something that's a little closer to a more lightened, refreshing sort of energy? Even though it's still a shade of gray, you get to choose how deep you go in things. And that's not to say that duality isn't a thing. It's an understanding that no matter what, there is light and dark and positive and negative in everything, but we get to choose to what degree we experience that polarity. Libra energy is asking you to balance your scales, to check in with yourself and see what it is where do you really fall on these things? Where do you fall on things in a personal way? Where do you fall on things in an emotional way, in a generational way, in a fiscal way, in a humanitarian sense? There's so many things to weigh in on, and it's overwhelming. Just don't let it hold you in place. That is the problem. If you need time to get to a space where you can get your thoughts together, now is that time. Okay? Pay attention. Pay attention. Please pay attention. And for some of us, this requires us to think outside of ourselves and outside of our own experience in a way that we never had before. And isn't that an awesome experience to have? That's a new thing for some of you. And for myself, in some ways as well. We're all experiencing it. And I think that that's the other thing too. Be kind. Everyone is going through their own flavor of this shit. And it all tastes like shit. But it doesn't have to stay that way. It's a guidepost. It's a way to turn your face towards something else and say, hey, look, you might want to pay attention to this. And just pay attention when that is happening to you, when your attention is being taken somewhere else and you're given pause. All right, I'm going to jump into the messages. Feeling all the feels. All right, if you chose one, here we go. We got snails and pumpkins this week, my loves. And this guy, he's a cutie. All right. Connecting with your energy one, I feel a lot of tension in the jaw and in my teeth, like moving into the base of the neck. It's actually pulling down into my collarbones. There's a lot of tension. There's a lot of anger. You literally are holding a lot back. And I'm going to ask you why. Why are you holding it back? Are you holding it back because you feel that it is outside of your ability to say something? Are you holding back because it is the right thing to do? Are you holding back in order to make other people feel comfortable? Are you holding back from what it is that you want to say because you maybe don't know how to verbalize what it is you're saying? Because all of those situations are different, first off. And all of those situations affect a different person who selected one. And some people who've selected multiples, this will kind of build. So there's an element of risk in everything, right? And the risk to reward ratio, it varies based on what you're willing to put in, right? A $5 bet is going to return on investment way more than a 50-cent one, right? What is being asked of you is not to go whole hog on these things, but to weigh in a mental sense, to kind of step across the line of your own little we don't do this thing. There's like almost like a group that is just like, this is my line. I don't cross this line. I don't think about anything past this line. I'm asking you to be a little open and consider the conversation that's being had about crossing a line, because it's a boundary. It's not a boundary. Hold on, I'm trying to get gleaning what I'm exposing myself here to. It's not a boundary that's being crossed. It's a preference, and you're working on the boundary. So understand that the other party is looking to work with you and meet you in the middle. Also, the thing that you want to bring up and that you want to talk about is really tied to some emotions that you have a hard time articulating, and that's okay. Just know that if you get the conversation started and you express some vulnerability, you're going to have to talk about it a little bit and say, hey, this makes me feel uncomfortable, or hey, I don't know how to put this, or it's really hard for me to kind of get my words around this. I'm going to do the best I can. Can you please be patient with me while I try and get this out my mouth? Maybe you need to write it down. The other people who are in party with this, who is part of the conversation, who are part of the conversation, they're going to work with you. They're going to be able to listen to this. And there is a sense of compromise, but it is going to be a give and take from everyone involved. You are allowed to say what you think and feel. You need actually to say what you think and feel, because you're going to be building resentment if you don't. And this is the only way that you can kind of get past this sort of weird sort of funk between you. And it is designed as a lesson for you to assert yourself and speak up a little bit. In assertion, when you're working on being more assertive, it's hard when if you're not used to doing that, because you might come off as a little bit too aggressive, or a little too clear, or a little too cold, because clear and cold, there's a really fine line between those two things. So just watch how it's coming out. If you can, monitor yourself, maybe write it down, think about what it is that you want to say first. Run it by somebody who you feel you can talk to this with. Just know that the process itself is the work, and that's the lesson itself. It's allowing yourself to sit down and slow down and listen to yourself and really get organized about what it is you think and feel, because it is important. You can't just go with the flow all of the time and just let the tide take you everywhere without saying, hey, I think I'd like to look at what's going on over there. You get to have a say in how things go. Okay? All right, moving on to 2. 2. If you chose 2, here you go. All right. So, two, connecting with your energy, I'm actually feeling a lot that's kind of inhibiting my ability to take a full breath. And that feels like a heaviness, like grief. It also feels like a feeling overwhelmed and stressed. And that energy is mostly coming from an environment that you're tapping into the overall collective, right? The collective itself is going through, everyone, like I said, is going through their own version of this, their own version of endings and beginnings, their own versions of doors being closed and things being open, things being left ajar and wondering if you should be peeking around the corner or not, or is that going to, get slammed in your face and there goes your nose. Like one of those fears are kind of hanging around. Also, the fear about making the wrong decision, or about showing your hand. I'm seeing like, don't show your hands, don't show your cards. And that feeling of needing to keep something quiet or keep something cloaked or keep something secret or not really saying everything, similar to one, is going to kind of bite you in the ass a little bit later. So you might as well come clean with it. If you can't, the question I'm going to ask you is, why don't you feel like you can say everything? What is holding you back from really expressing how you feel? Some of this has to do with a connection to some of you in a childhood sense. We're like 16, 17. And some of this has to do with feeling a sense of embarrassment. And this embarrassment is something that has come up with a larger group, perhaps around that time period. And it's, and if you look back to 16, 17, when you're feeling feelings around that age, everything seems like it's focused on you, right? Everything seems like it is so much tied to every decision I make as 16-year-old me will end me or end my life, or I'm dead, like forever. I will never be able to recover from this embarrassment or this decision or whatever. Some of what you're feeling right now harkens back to that sort of fear of being persecuted for how you feel, fear of being wrong, fear of actually being wrong at the end of it, if you were to share your opinion. And I'm going to ask you to look at that. Why is this coming back up around again? What does that say about your state of mind and where this insecurity is coming from? If your insecurity or whatever is connected back to an experience you had when you were a younger version of yourself, when your brain wasn't fully gelled and you're all full of hormones and really trying to figure out who you are in the world, and maybe not having the best support system because you didn't know how to advocate for yourself, maybe you haven't really advanced in this area past that point, and that's okay. Because the reason why this stuff comes up again, especially when you're older, is because we're supposed to go back and figure out why we felt that way to begin with. 16 or 17-year-old you needs to have a talk with you right now, however old you are. And they want to know that they're okay to say how they feel, and that they are worthy of being heard, and they are worthy of being listened to, and they are worthy of being right or wrong and still being loved anyways. That is the big message here for two. So can you sit down and go back in time in your mind, connect with yourself for 5 minutes and think about you at 16 or 17, and think about feeling awkward and feeling like everybody was looking at you, when we all know that not everyone was. Barely anybody was. And that's not because you weren't cool or interesting. It's just the human bubble of humaning. You were in a different bubble, and now you're in a bigger, better bubble, where you can see all of the little versions of you. And those little versions of you can still float around in this bubble that you're in, this sort of womb space. But you get to bring them back into the fold, and you get to take in the creativity and the wide-eyedness and the go-getter attitude and the excitability of 16, 17 and the hope for the future, and take the positive spin of that. And know that, yeah, you know what? If I say something, people are going to see it. People are going to say it because I'm worthy of being seen and heard. You now wants to know that. And that's a big deal. Okay. So moving on to 3. Okay, 3. Connecting with your energy, I'm really feeling a lot of pressure, like actually in like my belly, lower stomach area, kind of just feeling full, and feeling not settled. There's something that you're concerned about. There's a nervousness. You're kind of going along, you're rolling with the punches here. You're going with the flow. Insert idiom here. And you're sick of going with the flow. Now this ties into some other ones if you chose multiples. The going with the flow thing worked for a while. And that's not to say when people tell you to go with the flow or people suggest to go with the flow that you shouldn't and say that that's bullshit. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying is that there are times to go with the flow and there are times to be like, hey, the flow also goes over that way too. There's a fork in the river. And you get to decide if you want to kind of lean a little bit that way and make the boat go this direction, or lean a little bit that way, or if you want to stick your feet in and kind of tread water for a little bit. You can slow things down a bit if the pace is too much. What's going on with you 3 is I feel that you're actually stepping into connecting with the intuitive nature of your body more. And it's called clairsentience. It's something that I greatly experience, and you're kind of just like, man, why do I feel so weird all the time? Or I feel kind of gross when you're around certain people. And some of it is, you know, what you're picking up on. And some of it is that you can pick up on other people and how they feel about themselves, or how that manifests in their field, right? In their aura, in their energy space that interacts with one another. So an opportunity to do a little more self-protection. I'm not fear-mongering in any way. I just mean it's a matter of minding your energy. When you go out and you are greeting a group of people, a bunch of people that you know, that are friends, you know, your energy is open. You're all like, hey, what's up, guys? You know, and everybody's very excited. You can feel the energy lift. You can feel everybody's energy literally raise. Their frequency feels high. The energy feels high. The sound is louder. There's just more body to everything that's happening because everyone's body is getting bigger. Their energy field's getting bigger. And then when there's an argument or when somebody kind of shuts you down, are they literally shutting you down? Yes and no. Your energy compartmentalizes down and crushes down like a little trash compactor into a perfectly little closed box, and there's no expansion there. It's the opposite. It's collapsing in on itself in order to protect yourself. The happy medium needs to be kind of met here, is what I'm saying, is that you can go out and be your whole big-hearted, beautiful self. I am not saying please don't do that. I'm just saying that not everybody can accept that energy from you, and not everyone deserves your amazing energy right off the bat, right? So if you can work on keeping yourself more into your own bubble, that's not a closed, tight fist bubble, but is more like my arms are gently open. I'm sitting comfortably. My body language says that I am open, but it doesn't say I am ready to be embraced. I am ready to be encountered, received. I am ready to be. Yeah, you're ready to be received. Okay. I see you, ghosts. Anyway. Life is weird, isn't it? In a good way. Your ability to flex your energy and what it does is starting to become something that you can manipulate. Be aware that other people can feel you before you say anything. Be aware that people can catch your drift or already have an idea as to what's going on because your energy is so big. So learning how to kind of collapse that down a little bit to where you can surround yourself in a protective bubble that says, this is the energy field that I am in, and this is a good field, and I will open up more when I feel that it is appropriate for me and that it feels safe to do so. And I don't have to open up more if I don't want to, or if it doesn't feel safe, and allowing yourself that space. That is what is coming up now. So you might be feeling that in a physical sense. Just pay attention to what's going on around you. If you need help with this or are interested in developing this further, this is something I love to do. So please reach out and we can work together. I would love to do that. Check my website. But yeah, it's coming online. So enjoy it. Be open to it. Take notes. You know, do some internet searches. Reach out. Phone a friend. It's exciting times. All right. right. And 4. Smoky, smoky. All right. Connecting with your energy 4. I feel like you've come to the end of something again. It's almost like you thought something was completed, and then it seemed a little unsure. There was I believe that the situation is being resolved. Wait a minute. I think there are some loose ends. I'm not sure that I can let this go yet. And there's a feeling of wanting to cling a little bit. That's understandable, but a little bit of it is just because you're afraid. You're used to holding on to this thing to worry about it, and that's okay. You don't have to hold on with such a tight grip. You can, similar to what I was just talking about with 3, your allowance for the energy of it, you can release some of the control of the death grip that you have on this concept, of the thing that needs to be resolved. If this gets better like you want it to, and this thing resolves, and something changes like you've been asking for, the concern is that the other shoe is going to drop, or now something's gone well when things haven't gone well, and now I have a fear of the other shoe dropping or things to go bad because we can't have it be consistently good all the time. That's a trauma response. And I'm sorry if you have that, because a lot of us do. And maybe you're just starting to realize that it's a thing now, but it's not a healthy thing, but it's not an uncommon thing. It's just an opportunity for you to look a little deeper and say, why don't I feel safe? Why can't I feel like good things can happen to me and can consistently stay happening to me? I'm going to ask you to lean into gratitude on this in order to work on it. This is where you want to take stock of every day. Do you have the ability to move freely? Do you have clean access to clean water, air conditioning? Do you have, are you thankful for a vehicle that you have, a roof over your head? I mean, you can go real basic. I have socks that match today. Awesome. It was not a goal, but I'm glad I have them. Isn't that so great? The ability to connect to the internet, to have lights on, to be able to speak and be heard, to have time for a hobby, all of the things. There's so many things that we can talk about. Get back to the basics so you realize where it is that you're coming from, and that feeling of accepting good things. Once you realize all the good things that you already have, you'll be able to hold on to things getting better, the concept that things are turning around for you, and that you can continue to have good things happen and not wait for there to be some sort of smackdown or repercussion, right? I know it's a little hard with me with the karma sign here in the background, but it's something to think about. Like, choose how you want things to go. You are co-creating with the universe. You get to decide partially how some of this goes. More often, well, more than just partially. But you're co-creating. You're putting out and getting back, and you're part of the whole here. So don't act like you're not, because the otherness, the feeling like you're other, is going to keep you out of the circle, and then you're never going to feel like anything that's coming to you is actually true. You're going to question it, and you're going to wonder what it is. Let yourself have. Let yourself accept. Let yourself get. Let yourself receive. Okay? Those are the messages this week. We'd love to hear how they land for you, so please leave me some feedback. We'd love to work with you, so please reach out. Here is my website. And I will let you know about Midweek Message next week, whether or not I'm going to be having it. I do have some stuff going on, so I may not be able to show up there. But I will let you know. I will do something instead otherwise. And yeah, thanks for all your love and support. I hope you guys have a great week. And just know that we're all going through this stuff. You're not alone. Give yourself grace and space, and give it to your neighbor as well, because we all need a little bit of help. Okay? Love one another. Peace out.